Hey everyone! Buckle up for a new episode of Ambitions, the one and only show made to expand your knowledge of policy. My name is Aiman.
My name is Najiha. And
We will be your hosts
for
this episode. Are you ready, Najah? Dr. Eden is already requesting to enter. I will admit him now.
Okay, Aiman, I'm ready. Hello,
Dr. Mursyiddin.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, Doctor.
In this second episode, we have a lot of interesting things about policy to share with all of you. We are very excited to welcome our special guest for this show, Dr. Mohd Mursyiddin Abdul Manaf. We are glad to welcome you to our show, Dr. Eden.
We will also be discussing how the policy actually runs in the organization. But before we go further, let me tell you a little bit about Dr. Eden's background. He is an intrinsically positive, enthusiastic, and forward-thinking person. He is now currently serving under the Human Resource Division as Head of Leadership and Succession Development for the MISC Berhad.
That's right, Aiman. That sounds interesting, right? Alright, Dr. Eden. I'm pretty sure there are some of our beloved viewers out there who are curious about your roles in MISC Berhad. So, could you please tell us more about your roles?
My role with MISC is basically doing talent management to make sure that every employee in the organization gets fair share of development, and also to ensure there is career development for them. So part of my role is to ensure that the talent bench it's a bit tongue twister there. The talent bench strength is of place, and to make sure that everyone get one day be able to hold a bigger role in the future in the organization. So it's a very interesting role. You get to assess people to make sure that whether they have a headroom to take a bigger role. Yep.
Wow! I'm amazed that you have been given such a great role in your current position. Since we are talking about policies, what is your opinion on the policy changes?
So as an organization, basically policy change every time the organization changes the direction. Every 5 years, when the organization evaluate whether their strategic plan probably need to change because of the changes of board direction, so then the policy need to change to adapt to that. While the government changes of policy, it depends on the what they call it, government of the day. So every time we change government, the direction or probably the focus or the agenda of the government or the ruling party would change as well. So it depends on the agenda that they carry.
So, do you think it happens frequently?
As frequent as the changes of government these days, it's not only changing, but also they also add new policies to make sure that certain agenda being met. But different in organization, the objectives as well as the board direction in order for the organization to thrive is important.
Oh, now we know. Okay, Doctor. I would also like to know deeper about communication policy and strategy. What is your thought about that?
So, what is communication policy? So, communication policy is that how do you want to communicate something with a proper process? So, when we talk about in detail, is that follow back the policy processes, analyzing the issue, then you do assessment, then towards the end that you need to evaluate whether the policy is working or not, right?
Yes.
Yep, that's true. Something like that.
So then, why is it important for communication to have a policy of its own? It's because that when we want to communicate, especially in organizational setting, there's a lot of factors that we need to consider. If you look into branding, if you look into one, we look into branding. Second, we want to actually safeguard of the organizational reputation. That the communication policy is important because we need to look at from the on the stationery itself. Where do we want to put the logo? The language that we use to communicate our information or our news. How do we want to communicate it? What kind of information that we be able to convey? What information need to be embargoed?
Maybe you can share with us some of your own experience?
The best way to learn this, especially when we look at communication policy, during my experience working with Bank Negara Malaysia. So in Bank Negara Malaysia, whenever that we want to communicate new policies, especially on the financial services as well as insurance and takaful, there's two ways of us to communicate that. One, to the general public. Second is to the financial services or insurance provider. So the language is different, the structure is different, the content is different, and the way how we layer the information also different. So it's to fit the needs of both audience as well as to really understand what information that they should know and they shouldn't know. The objective is to ensure that whatever information that being conveyed to the public as well to the operators be able to maintain and to manage as well as to ensure there is financial stability and economic stability in the country.
Wow, I didn't know that it took that much.
I know, right? Okay, what about the hardest policy? Have you ever been involved during your career?
Those policies are already in place. But then we're required to do a little bit of tweaking, meaning that when we need to do policy change or policy improvement to make sure that it is addressing the current needs and future needs. You know, for the past 2 years, when we were hit by the pandemic, where banks need to give out moratoriums to ease up the burden of Malaysians in paying their loans, okay? So to come up with a policy, it's very difficult because the team need to assess the situation of the Malaysian economic landscape, to understand the financial capacity or the financial institution capacity to hold the barricade to ensure that it will not devastate the economy, the nation's economy, and they need to actually discuss with all the 6 financial institutions whether the ability to be able to pay the debts. So it will take some time, about 3 months. That is very quick. That is very fast on the Bank Negara side, because it was a situation where they need to act fast. But some of the policies that are being made, some would take years to complete, because doing policy, the part of implementation can be done very fast, but at the analyzing part as well as at the assessment part will take some time, because before, to make sure that the policy will not backfire you in the longer run, you need to assess the situation and provide options.
Our policymakers sure work hard to help Malaysia during the pandemic.
Alright, Dr. Eden. Let's say employees fail to follow the policy. What action should be taken by the employer?
policy is basically provide you with a guideline on how do you want to do things to ensure that at the end of the day the objective is being met. Every single thing that we do actually bound by a policy, and there's an ethical grounds that tie to it. But if, let's say, for example, an employee failed to follow or violate the policy, if they are not being caught, then it's okay. But normally, in cases, they easily get caught lah. So when that happened, first of all, we would actually call this person to represent him or herself to explain on his or her action. And sometimes this can also be a show cause letter. And then if, let's say, the reasons given of not satisfactory, we would actually lay out the cards on the table. If the person found guilty, the person can be terminated. But there are many other avenues for the person to defend himself, him or herself, in representing himself by using a lawyer, for example. But it depends lah. If, let's say, whatever that the person is doing is totally violating of the policy, the person were given a chance to resign or get terminated.
Might as well follow the rules since it's created for our sake, right?
Okay. In your opinion, Doctor, do you think that the public needs to be aware of the policy?
The public, yes, need to understand more about the policy because the policy is like an SOP. The policy is basically safeguard of the interest of the stakeholders and also function as a as a gatekeeper before things go down south. So people need to be aware of it, and communication of the policy also need to be ramped up because in most organizations, let's say for example, government's policy on certain things are available on the website, but I think many Malaysians are not aware of what policy and how do we want to benefit from the policy.
So now we can see how important it is for the public to be aware of the policies.
That is right, Najha. So, Doctor, this is the last question. What is your hope and advice for people who are listening to this podcast and students who are going to work in this industry in the future?
My hope is that the audience keep listening to the podcast and keep watching it on YouTube. And my advice for the students in the future that will work in the industry is that you need to stay vigilant, stay competitive, always think that there are always better people out there and you have to be better on top of them. And then communication is not the only field that you can go into.
Thank you so much for your great words and for spending your precious time with us, Doctor. We're overjoyed you made it to our show and have definitely gained a lot of knowledge.
I hope we will meet again, Dr. Eden, because all I can say is wow, I truly enjoyed this whole session.
Alright, thank you guys for the opportunity. Have a good restful day, have a good weekend ahead. And also, please stay safe.
And that is the end for the second episode of Emissions. I hope that you guys enjoyed the whole session as much as I did, right, Najia?
That's right, Aiman. Never knew policymaking could be so much fun to learn. So everyone, don't forget to subscribe, comment, like and share this video so everyone can benefit from it. Stay tuned for our next episode!
Bye,
Bye,
everyone.
everyone.
That's all from us. Thank you for watching and stay tuned for the next episode. If you enjoyed this video and want to hear from us again, be sure to hit that subscribe button, like, comment, and share before you go. See ya!